Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today we're diving into the upcoming crowdfunding campaigns for September. There are a lot of campaigns coming up. We have nearly 50 campaigns we're going to be covering today, and that's after cutting out a whole bunch of others to just give you like the condensed list, and there's a lot of campaigns, We're going to be trying to be very brief today as we go through this, just so you can have a reasonable length video, but don't worry, we will of course be going into these campaigns more in detail every single Monday on our to-back or not-to-back video, or at least every single Monday that we actually have those, which is like most Mondays, but not really every Monday. Although speaking of board games, speaking of more crowdfunding content, we also have Shelf Clutter. Make sure, regular reminder to subscribe to Shelf Clutter, who puts up videos every single week about the upcoming campaigns for that week. Adam covers these campaigns and he has a lot of information for you. He has it every single week, which means he has the most up-to-date information. He covers all the campaigns. I'm trying to condense like into it in a single month, which means I'm trying to condense a full month into a video, which means I do cut out things that I think are possibly a little less of interest, but Adam will have those for you if you need them. And of course, I'll have updates and things that got changed, adjusted, stuff that will change across the course of the month. So if you are looking for your regular crowdfunding updates about what's coming up that week, Shelf Clutter, Adam has you covered over there. And with that, let's go ahead and start off. And we're starting off with a Gamefound campaign, which means it is a good time to remind you that I do work for Gamefound. I've been covering crowdfunding for 3.5 years now, but I have been working for Gamefound for a little over a year, so just take that into account as we go through these. With that, though, we're starting off with the Strange Forgeries of Mr. S.C.Rheber over here. This is a fascinating induction-based game. The basic idea of this game is you're going to have a rule in place. The creator of the game, the artist, or whoever it is, there's going to be like the DM and the other players, and the DM is playing as well. They're also involved in scoring as you go through it. And the players are going to be taking turns being the DM and all that. I don't know if it's officially called the DM, but I'm calling it the DM. But in the game, you're going to be basically coming up with the rule, whatever the rule might be. And then that rule is going to have different art things submitted by the various players, and you'll check off which ones are accurate to the rule, which ones are not accurate to the rule, and which ones are vague to the rule. So for example, your rule might just be something along the lines of, you have to have a circle in your artwork. It can be anything you want. You could do whatever you want, and players will kind of establish that rule as they go. And as players figure out the rules, you're also going to be grading the submissions that are in other players' galleries. So fascinating concept, very intrigued by it. This is the kind of game I see as it could be like a great fun time, or it could be an absolute bust. These games that have a very specific playstyle, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Games that have a specific playstyle, that's basically every game. But you know what I mean. Anyways, The Strange Forgeries of Mr. S.C.Rheber. I will say I'm not going to be covering the dates for these as I go through them. There are too many, I don't remember the 50 dates offhand. I do have them ordered in the order that they'll be popping up throughout the course of the month, which means this one's going to be launching up in around 4 days. Then we have Rogue Angels. This is going to be another September 4th one. That's because I saw the 4 days thing, and also because it's listed in the lower banner over here as you go through this. But Rogue Angels is going to be giving you a large campaign-driven game as you go through a bunch of branching paths. You go through this mission in space, and you're going to be navigating around, trying to open doors, tackle enemies, level up your characters. Had a chance to play this one on TTS briefly. From what I saw, I enjoyed it. Keep in mind, a single TTS demo of the tutorial does not a review make, so take that into account. But I did very much enjoy playing the game, and I'm looking forward to diving into it more properly or more fully eventually down the road. It is going to be another campaign game, so it's competing with a million other campaign games in your collection. Keep that in mind as you get this one. This is going to be competing with Gloomhaven, with Agamonia, with, I don't know, what's the new one that had Legend? No, what's the new one? Darn it, what's that new accessible one that people keep talking about that I can't remember right now? There's a ton of campaign games out there. Rogue Angel will be competing with that, so just keep that in mind as you get this one, or don't get this one. We have Gold Nugget from Two Tomatoes Gaming. This is going to be another Gamefound campaign. This is going to be a game of trying to find the Gold Nugget. You're going to have a bunch of tokens placed face down into a pile, and you're going to be using various animal abilities throughout the course of the game to try to get your hands on the token, and then try to keep the token as well, because players are going to have the opportunity to steal or adjust. And you're basically using a ton of abilities in the game to try to get your hands on the gold token, try to accurately predict when a player has it, when they're trying to bluff that they don't have it, and all of those things. So there's a lot of fast card play around trying to find the magical gold token. The gold nugget, not gold token. It's literally called gold nugget. You'd think you'd remember that. Then we have Ivion Season 3 Crossroads. This is launching quickly. I think Ivion, like even Season 2 felt like it was recent, wasn't it? Or is just time just moving too fast at this point? Either way, Ivion Crossroads over here. The newest in the Ivion line of games, that's going to be the hero crafting card system, where you craft heroes from a bunch of different decks of cards, building out your different hero. It looks very intriguing. I've been interested in this game ever since I first saw it. It does fall into that line of games where sometimes there's like, okay, great, there's a million games doing this one. On the other hand, Ivion so far is well rated, and I like the idea of what it's doing. Not full, it's not full like deck crafting like you would find in Lorcana and MTG and any of those games, but rather you have a degree of different systems you can play around with and merge and mix and match in different ways. So it does seem to have the DNA of a system like MTG without the overwhelmingness of a system like MTG, which definitely is intriguing to me. You play it out with your heroes on a battlefield, all that. It looks intriguing, but I haven't actually had a chance to table this one. This is Ivion Season 3 Crossroads. We have Vigilante Hidden Motives. It's going to be an expansion and reprint for Vigilante. Vigilante is going to be a game that a degree of hidden role in it as you take on you're playing as various heroes, taking down different villains. The expansion is going to come with a few things, including a 2-player mode for you to play with over here. So you're going to have a new brand new 2-player mode, including more scenarios for the game. So if you're someone who is interested in the game, but the 3 to 5 player count was a limiting factor, that may well make this something that's on your radar. Then we have Wilderfeast coming to you from Horrible Guild. There's going to be a tabletop RPG of monstrous cuisine where you are what you eat. I didn't look heavily into this one. RPGs are not as much my forte, but I just, like, it's Horrible Guild. They do RPGs and board games, and it looks fun. So in case you want to know, we have Wilderfeast, and that's all the information I have. We have Battlecrest Year 2 coming to you from Buttonshy Games. This is going to be Buttonshy's skirmish game. You're going to take control of 2 heroes. You're going to set a bunch of terrain cards into a common battlefield, and then you're going to move around using your hero, any companions or robots or things that they have in the game, as you tactically move around the battlefield, trying to take out your opponent more efficiently than they take you out. I did have a chance to play Season 1. This one wasn't as much for me. I find Buttonshy, I think it's very cool, by the way. I don't actually know what the ratings are on this. I probably should have checked, but I think it's a very cool system. For me, I'd rather just play a full-on skirmish game than navigating with like 18 cards on a tabletop. Usually, I find Buttonshy and their 18-card system and the amount of game they can give you incredibly, very cool. Yeah, I'm intrigued on the general opinion of this. I didn't look up the ratings. For me, this is one that I was like, this is cool. Like, lots of power, lots of abilities. A little too fiddly for what I was looking for. But this is going to be Battlecrest Year 2 coming from Buttonshy Games. We have Barrage New Lands, 2 new expansions for a game that I've been meaning to table for like 2 years now. I feel like it's been like 2 years. Barrage has been one of the many Euros in my collection that have just languished on the shelf, waiting for me to actually find the time to pull out and play. I do it occasionally, I do. I mean, I finally just played Revive, loving Revive so far. But Barrage, I've read the rulebook. I know how to play this game. You have all these water, siphoning down the hills. You have the electricity, you're trying to funnel your generators. That's all that I remember from the rulebook. You're building various, constructions. It's been like a year and a half since I read the rulebook. It is on Board Game Arena. I really should take the time to actually table this. They have the new lands coming out soon. 5th of September. It's launching too soon. I'm not going to have a chance to table this and give, maybe if I'm really lucky, I will have a review coverage for this before the campaign ends. I do find that when a crowdfunding campaign is coming out, I'll be like, okay, great, let's go ahead and let's play Barrage. Let's do it now, because now it's good. It's good. People actually want to find out more about the game, so now's a good time to finally do it again. Maybe. We'll see. I'll try, but we'll see what happens. That's going to be Barrage. Barrage, yeah, so 2 new expansions for new lands over here coming for Barrage. I think it's 2 new expansions. Get 2 original expansions, including one dedicated for a 2-player game, which is interesting because one of the things that has held it back for me to a degree is the fact that it is best with 4 players. But either way, that's going to be Barrage. Very excited for this one. It's got great reviews. It's designed by Tommaso Battista, who has done DEI, which is one of my favorite games right now, and so I am intrigued. I want to play this more. That's going to be Barrage. Then we have the Isofarian... No, I want to play it more. I don't know why I said that. I want to play it. Barrage. Then we have the Isofarian Guard second printing. This is coming to you from Sky Kingdom Games, and this is going to be a second printing, or a 1.5 edition for the Isofarian Guard. It's going to be bringing you a reprint for Isofarian Guard in case you didn't get your hands on it the first time round. But then additionally to that, it is also going to be giving you... It's also going to be giving you a bunch of new things for the game system. So you're going to have a revised rule set. You're going to have an update pack with giving you all the books completely redone. So if you're someone who bought the first edition, your first edition copy is just as good today as it was before. But if you want the new content, the tweaks, the adjustments, all that stuff, they are bringing you a full update pack. So it's going to be something you're going to have to buy. So take that into account. And I know those are always frustrating. It always feels hard. The flip side of things, I will point out that people who bought the first edition of the game did pay $79 for it, and it's not going to be $79 for the second edition of the game. So as far as price point stuff, you're probably just fine compared to people who are coming in later. You're not being punished for being an early adopter. Trust me, you're getting the best end of the deal over there. But Isofarian Guard, a game I really enjoy. My biggest complaint, which seems to be in general people's biggest complaints, people seem to have the same general opinion. This game's rated at 9.0 on Board Game Geek right now, and people seem to fall into the camp of either I love it, or I love it, but there's too much grind. That seems to be the 2 consistent camps, and I fall into the I love it, but there's too much grind camp of things. That's an easily solvable system to a degree. You can kind of just rush through battles that you don't feel added to your experience. but they are taking that into account. They are aware of the feedback, and the update pack, to some extent, is going to address that or try to minimize the amount of grind in the game, to try to lower that extra degree of just stuff that has to be done to give you the core experience and shorten the gameplay, but give you a, instead of giving you 300 hours of gameplay, give you 150 hours of better, more focused gameplay. Those numbers are completely pulled out of my hat. Do not take my word for either of those numbers. I think the game is supposed to have like 300 hours of gameplay. The 150 hour I just straight up made up. Anyways, moving on from there, we have the 2 new titles from the world of Midgard. This is going to be Clans of Midgard, a roll and write game, and Revisit Midgard, the card game. Don't know how any of those play. They're just in the world of Midgard. You know, Midgard, like the game that got like a bunch of expansions. Possibly the game that made Grey Fox Games famous. Possibly. I feel like it's the game that made Grey Fox Games famous, but either way. Moving on, we have Unreliable Wizard from Salt and Pepper Games. This is actually an import game. This was an original game. They're reprinting it now. I think Dice Tower just put out a review on it. Specifically, Mike put out a review on it. Gave it an 8.5 out of 10, which is very solid for this little solo puzzle game. I think it's a little solo puzzle game. Yeah, it's a solo game. You're going to be advancing along the map, fighting various enemy minions, and gathering new magic and traveling companions to assist along the way. So it seems to be falling into the vein of what Salt and Pepper Games have done in the past with games like Resist, with games like Witchcraft. Was it called Witchcraft? I don't remember what the game was called. The other one that was not Resist, but that was sort of similar to Resist. Then games like 20 Strong. Basically, solo games we are operating with a limited resource pool, and you're trying to figure out how to make your way to the end of it successfully with that limited resource pool. Then we have Cretaceous Rails. Cretaceous Rails is coming to you from Spielcraft Games. I did have a chance to play this one. I'll have review coverage for you on this. This is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one. I will say visually the game doesn't pull me in as much from the art and graphics. The table presence, on the other hand, does work for me a lot. Table presence is very fun. Lots of dinosaurs on the board, lots of foliage, lots of little, like, tourists and all that stuff. But overall, the game is a tableau building game that across 4 rounds of play, you're trying to basically figure out the most efficient way to gather dinosaurs, to take your tourists on tours, to gather other stuff, to like chop down the various trees, use all of those to fund your resort cards, and the resort cards are so powerful. All the cards in the game basically are like, hey, you know how that action lets you do one thing? Well, if you build me, you can do that action 4 times instead, and it's like, it's crazy broken. But all the cards are crazy broken, and so you're trying to figure out the pathway of what you're going to do to build out the game, and it's got a fun little worker placement mechanism where when you place a worker, you're placing on an action grid, a 16 grid tile, a 4x4 grid with 16 tiles, and you take the actions of the 2 tiles you're touching, so you're going in between stuff as you go, which means you're kind of forced between, like, I might want to take this action and that action, but those 2 aren't touching, so I can't. So which one of those actions do I want to prioritize, and which one will be my second action? Lots of fun things going on. That's Cretaceous Rails. Really enjoy that one. Highly recommend it. We have Mycelia, the strategic mushroom game. Try to grow your own mushroom species and whatnot while trying to hamper your opponents in this game. A little bit of a, it's got a little triangle-based system as far as the actual board and as far as how you get in the ways. Don't have a ton of information on this one. This is Mycelia. There's another game from Ravensburger, also called Mycelia, that came out last year. So that's going to be 2 Mycelia games. We have Hybris Disordered Cosmos over here. This is going to be an expansion and reprint to Hybris Disordered Cosmos, which I think is also rated fairly high. I think it's an 8.8 if I recall. I think this is an 8.8 on Board Game Geek. This is a worker placement game with a ton of other things going on. Fights you'll have, engage with other characters, go on quests to a certain extent. But like, so it's, the core is worker placement, but there's just a lot going on. Yeah, 8.8 over here. I knew I saw that somewhere. But either way, this is going to be a reprint and update pack to the expansion. A reprint and update pack. Is it also an expansion? I thought it was an expansion too. Is it just a reprint and upgrade pack? New characters. No, the expansion. There's an expansion too. New expansion, reprint and update pack. That's going to be Hybris Disordered Cosmos. I don't know a ton about the gameplay in this one. There's a lot going on in this one. This is launching very soon. Why did I think this was? I had in my dates that this was launching in what's it called? Mid-September. But apparently it's launching very, very soon. So technically this is an August title. Okay. Anyways, moving on, we have Rivals. Rivals is going to be a deck building and battle royale game. I don't have a ton of information passed down on the gameplay. I like deck building. I like the concept of battle royale, but I don't know if I've yet seen it done in board games in a way that's really compelling. Like, hey, let me play a board game with you. Oh, look at that. I'm out. Okay, fine. I'll just go, play on my phone for 20 minutes. I don't actually know if they have player elimination, honestly. The only thing is, Battle Royale is player elimination. Battle Royale is last person standing. So far when I've seen the term Battle Royale used in board games, it hasn't actually been player elimination, but then it's not really Battle Royale, or is it? Am I wrong here? I don't know. Either way, I'm intrigued by deck building, I'm intrigued by Battle Royale. Arts and graphics not totally pulling me in just yet, but that's going to be Rivals launching September 12th, which is when I thought Hybris was launching, but it's not. So we're going to move on to Rolling Zombies. Rolling Zombies launching in September 12th as well. You can see that over there because of the 12 days. This is going to be a Yahtzee-style area control game with 2 to 5 players with zombies. You're basically going to be rolling dice to take your actions, trying to take control of various areas. The cards look fun. The map and all that, I'm not pulled in as much. Like, this doesn't inspire me as much, although I will say this does very much fit into the war game kind of style of category. I like my stuff to look pretty, not when it hampers the gameplay, I guess, but I generally like my stuff to look pretty, and I'm not pulled in as much by the board in this one, but I do like the idea of a Yahtzee-style dice mechanism to deal with area control, so I'm half intrigued and half not intrigued, so time will tell on that one. That's going to be Rolling Zombies coming over on Gamefound. Then we have over here, we have Oddgrove Games bringing you DeepSix, a game of galactic mayhem. This is going to be a 2-player game as you try to fight over a grid of tiles. You're going to have these different tiles, and you're trying to convert the tiles to your color. You're going to be dealing with your hero, you're going to be crafting or recruiting various units as you go through the game, and you're ultimately trying to just convert the grid using powers and abilities and all that. Seems like it's very focused on almost being abstract adjacent, so it's not pure abstract, it's abstract with chaos and combat, so maybe a mix of a skirmish game and an abstract game, kind of. Intrigued. Halfway through the rules in this one, haven't had a chance to actually play this one yet. That's going to be DeepSix, a game of galactic mayhem. Then we have Revenant's Run, OPR compatible sci-fi miniatures. This is coming to you from the sculptor behind Lazy Squire Games, the same sculptor, and they're making printable miniatures over here that you can go ahead and print the STLs, and it also has various plug and play different elements to it. So you can also, and they also seem to have physical packs you can buy as well. So if you do want to buy them, you can buy physical packs. They don't seem to be the cheapest as far as them go, like, you know, $30 for 6 miniatures. I know, everything's relative. If you're comparing it to Games Workshop, holy hell, you can pay your rent this month. If you're comparing it to buying, you know, a Zombicide all-in, well, they're expensive. So everything is relative in life, and that's just the way things work. But it has a lot of STLs that kind of, like, one of the things that very intrigued me about this game, aside from the fact that the sculpts are gorgeous, but that's what I expect from whoever that Lazy Squire sculptor is, whoever's doing Lazy Squire miniatures for any of their games, or any of the other games they've worked on. This stuff's insane. Some of the best miniatures I've seen in board games, period. But past that, we have these turrets, we have these, you know, the Corvacree, they have the Jar Sect, and they have somewhere on this page, so you see these over here, so the Nimister and Sentries over here. The way these work is all these various miniatures are plug and play. You can mix and match various bits, so you can swap in this head, and that arm, and that leg, and that, you know, augment for your vehicle, and maybe it's not all those things, but the general idea of that is very much present, and so, yeah, cool miniatures, but I also personally want a game behind the cool miniatures, and I don't know if I have that, so, like, this is one of those things, like, I've done stuff with Lazy Squire. They've sent me miniatures and stuff to, like, showcase or review, and I want these miniatures. I just don't know what I would do with them after. I'll be like, here are the miniatures. Like, do I give them to my kids to play with? Do I just play with them? Do I just set up? Maybe I dedicate an entire room in my house to setting up this fascinating, just army scene, but then I need terrain. I don't know. I need a game. I need a game around this stuff. That's what I need. But I want the game around this stuff. So either way, this is going to be highly customizable. Oh, there also is a 1-page rules compatible. So these are relevant for RPG stuff. Moving on, we have over here, we have the Flock Together, an asymmetric cooperative game. This is coming to you from what's the name? From Seacow Games. This is bringing you The Art of Andrew Bosley. It's going to have you playing as a bunch of chickens who are wandering off on their own to survive in the wilderness as you try to tackle the various baddies in your way, as you try to gather the various food, the grub, lay your eggs, all of that, leveling up your characters across was it, how many rounds of play? I don't remember the exact rounds of play, but this is like, you know, you're going to have multiple seasons. Was it 3 seasons? I think 3 seasons and 7 turns per season or something like that. I'd have to look at the board again. But either way, you're trying to utilize your actions, level up your chickens, gather your food, and take down the various baddies before the game ends in Flock Together. Then we have Creature Caravan from Raven Games. This is going to be a tableau building game as you gather various cards and allocate your dice to those cards to navigate your caravan throughout the wilderness. A bunch of things are going to be happening along the way, but you're managing resources, you're managing your cards, and that's kind of where I'm tapped out on information. I am already sad about the fact that it seems to say there's only like 134 cards. Anytime you say like a card-based game, I'm like, give me 572 unique cards for the vast amounts of infinite possible combinations you can have in the game. You can make good games with 134 cards. I'm just a glutton for punishment, and I'm always like more, even when it's not actually good to have more. So honestly, Red Raven Games, you do you, ignore me. I'll like the game or I won't, either way. Moving on, we have Bone Wars from Game Brewer. It's going to be reliving the Great Dinosaur Rush. There's a lot of things going on in this game. I've read through the page. Coming to you from Game Brew over here. They have a lot of games in the belt. The art, the production, all that stuff looks great. I didn't get a strong sense of the gameplay, meaning the way I'd say it, having gone through the campaign page, it feels like a Eurogame. Not in a bad way. There's lots of actions. You take actions, you do things efficiently, and hopefully you win the game. I do not mean that dismissively. I just mean that sometimes it's hard to really condense what a Euro does, especially if you haven't played it. This one seems like it does a lot of fun things. The page has a lot of information. I highly encourage going through the page how to play. You know, you're going to do this. You have all these actions. You have these 6 different actions you can do, and these are going to, you can refresh the bones. You can move your team, perform the DeepSix. These are all relevant things. I just haven't played the game, so I don't have a good sense of it myself, but it does look very cool. I think Game Brew in general makes very high quality, high production games. Very intrigued to see more about Bone Wars. Then we have over here, we have Beast Shattered Isles. Coming to you from Studio Midhall, this is going to be the expansion to Beast with more content and more content and more content and other things too, which I think are public. I think so. Can I say some things over here? Yeah, miniatures. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They have miniatures for Beast as well. I was like, I know I've had miniatures and I've seen the miniatures. I don't remember 100% if they've shown miniatures, but they have apparently. It's going to be Beast Shattered Isles. If you missed Beast the first time around, if you want to get your hands on the game, or if you alternatively want in the expansion content, or who knows what, there's a ton of ways to spend money on this. Honestly, though, Beast core game will give you a decent amount of gameplay. You will have a lot of stuff under your belt. Unless you are someone who's pulling out Beast a lot, the core game is probably plenty for you. That's true in most cases. Unless you are pulling out that game a lot, the core game is usually plenty. Not in Command's case. In Command's case, the core game usually feels like it's missing a little bit, so you kind of want a little bit extra there. But whatever. That's going to be Beast Shattered Isles from Studio Midhall, launching shortly on Gamefound, and follow to get a free gift. Genuinely, if you are interested in this game at all, highly, highly recommend following the campaign, because you'll get like a $22 like add-on or whatever it is for free just from following it. So you don't have to buy, you do not in any way, shape, or form have to buy the game, but if you are in any way considering it, follow the campaign. It's going to save you money. Then we have over here, we have Final Girl Series 3. This is going to be the Final Girl Series 3. Final Girl is one of the most famous solo games. I think it's the highest funded solo game on Kickstarter of all time. They had Final Girl Season 1, then Season 2, and now we have Season 3. So more and more content for your Final Girl experiences and journey. If you like that dice rolling, you know, to pick a Final Girl, pick an encounter, pick a board, pick a monster, do whatever you need to do, and then try to ultimately survive in this game of managing your resources and managing your upgrades and managing your dice and managing your everything in the game. Then we have Transmissions board game. A second printing from this, coming to you from Adam West. Transmissions is a little rondel-based game of moving your robots around the board in this cute little universe. Has gotten good ratings overall, and coming back to Kickstarter for a second printing. It is a little bit on the lighter side, just take that into account, but it is very cute, very whimsical, and seems to be well-liked enough for, you know, its game weight. We have Founders from this way. Founders is going to be the next game from the same people who brought you Ice. Founders is more of a deduction game. You're trying to figure out what other players are doing as you lay tiles down in this shared economy. Everyone has their own goal of what they're trying to do, and watching players try to navigate towards their goals, kind of like, aha, I think you're doing this and that, and you're trying to figure out what everyone's goal is while you accomplish your own. But if you figure out what someone's goal is, then you can kind of, it has that element, it's a mechanic that Ivy Games calls strategic deduction, where it's not about, the game is not about deducing what the other player's role is, nor is it a pure strategy game. Rather, if I deduce what your role is, what your goals are, then I can build around those. I can do things to get in your way, or I can take advantage of what you're trying to do. So figuring out what other players are doing helps you pursue your own goals, but it's not an obligation in order to win. That's going to be Founders. Very intriguing. Had a chance to play this one once, and I'm intrigued to dive into it more to see more about the game. We have Storyburg, a deck building game, you know, taking place in a fairy tale universe. That's all I have really. It's a deck building game taking place in a fairy tale universe. You can see the cards over here. It's got a degree of deck building. It's got a 1 to 4 players. I don't have more than the actual mechanics past that, but that's if you want to play as the Cowardly Lion or the Flamingo or Tinkerbell or the Walking Bed, all those things. That's going to be Storyburg, deck building in a fantasy fairy tale universe. Then we have Theme Park Mania. Build a theme park together. And I say together, but it's not a cooperative game, or at least I don't believe it's a cooperative game, because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be building out the theme park, building rides. First player to visit all the rides wins, I believe. I'm not entirely sure how that plays out, but Theme Park Mania, a game of building out a theme park and trying to score more efficiently than other players. We have Canopy Evergreen, which is not an expansion to Canopy. This is a re-implementation of Canopy. Think Ticket to Ride and Ticket to Ride Europe. We have Canopy Evergreen, taking the same core concepts of drafting that are found in the original Canopy from Tim Eisner, same company that brought you Leaf and dozens of other games, and they're bringing it to you again with Canopy Evergreen. Haven't had a chance to play Canopy yet, but maybe I'll play Canopy Evergreen. We'll see. We have Tiny Tables. Tiny Tables is going to be bringing you exactly what it sounds like. These are tiny tables that go on your desktop. They can act as either just a fun little thing to have on your desk because you have that kind of whimsical personality, or it could be literally component holders and card holders and possibly playing a full solo game inside of it if you're that kind of crazy personality. This whole concept of this is fascinating. It's literally a tiny table, component holder, card holder, a fun little thing. So if you're interested in this is a very, very, very unique product compared to what we usually see in the board game space, but also very, very different, very, very charming and fun. I don't know. Tiny tables. I no idea if this works for you or not. For me, I'm both intrigued by it and functionally don't think it's something that I would actually use. So for me, it's more like a desktop, tabletop, accessory to have to remind me that I actually play board games while I work. My work is mostly playing board games, so like I don't need that reminder, but it's nice because I like board games anyway, so there's that. Then we have League of Dungeoneers expansion and second printing. Coming to you from Von Russ Publishing. This is going to be League of Dungeoneers, an expansion, and second printing. Exactly what it sounds like. League of Dungeoneers is a massively ambitious game, giving you an absolute ton of things to go ahead as you build out your own dungeon crawlers, you utilize their universe and their card combinations. It just seems to be massively replayable, bringing you just a ton of dungeon crawling stuff. You can see it unboxed on my channel. This game is very, I mean, you can see a review from Drive Through Games. This is just ambitious. Ambitious is the main word I think of when I think of League of Dungeoneers. And again, another very well rated game. You can check out Board Game Geek. Lots of ratings for this one, and it's going to be launching towards the end of September. Then we have Defenders of the Wild coming to you from Outlandish Games. This is going to be a cooperative game where you assemble a crew of animal defenders to resist the machines in this cooperative board game. Now, offhand, this is made by the same people who brought you Block by Block 3 times, which means the idea that it's a cooperative game as you try to resist the machines means they are going with the same vibe that Block to Block had to a degree. It's different than Block to Block. I mean, clearly it's different, but it has those same kind of, resist the uprising kind of approach to it in Defenders of the Wild. The cute animal creatures has me intrigued. I think it's a different game than Block to Block. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not the same mechanically game with the reskin, but I don't know for sure. I probably should check that out. But that, again, art looks cool. It's brought to you by the company that did Block by Block, which is well rated and well liked, and the combination of those two things has me intrigued, even though I don't have any information on the mechanics themselves. Then we have over here, we have Erune. Erune is going to be coming back to the table with an expansion and a reprint over here. Erune is a digitally assisted dungeon crawling game. I haven't actually had a chance to play this one yet. I believe I will be covering this one for the channel, so you can take a look there. But this is, yeah, I mean, the miniatures are gorgeous. The production, they've also done Spark Riders 3000. They tend to work with, app combined board games, and their production is off the charts. That's not a question at all. I am very curious on the gameplay of Erune. Historically speaking, I've always been okay or resistant to app-based games. It is case by case, but I don't think I've ever loved the app enabling the board game. I usually am tolerant of it and understand why it has to exist, which means I'm always leaning away from them. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by Erune. The production is gorgeous, and I do like dungeon crawlers. So the question is, does this have a space in my collection or not? I don't really know. We'll find out. But an expansion and reprint should be coming to Kickstarter later this month. We have the Shivers expansion, Triple Terror, bringing you more content for the Shivers. The storybook and mystery adventure game with a pop-up storybook. This whole appeal. The whole appeal is the pop-up book. You open up the Shivers, you set up a scenario, and it's literally like a pop-up situation, but with a degree of escape room style kind of approach to it. And it's going to be bringing you more expansions to the Shivers in case that's something you're interested in. We have Margrave, the Marcher Lords. This is going to be a historical fantasy miniature war game. So a lot of things going on over here. This and the next one are just basically bringing you a lot of miniatures and stuff and things, and I don't really know enough about them. But Margrave's going to be launching on Gamefound. It's going to be bringing you various sets of things. They also have like an all-in, a lifetime pledge. For £1,000, you basically get everything ever made for Margrave. You will have to cover shipping, but anything they ever make again, you'll get that. So they're giving you some sort of lifetime pledge. So this is something that you're interested in, and if it's something you believe in enough, that could be worth considering. But also just consider, what the lifetime is going to be of this, because who knows? It could be amazing. It could be the best $1,000 you ever spent, £1,000 you ever spent, or it could be something that's totally not worth it. Always consider those things very carefully. But it's going to be a historical fantasy rank and flank miniature war game inspired by a Total War, Company of Heroes, Age of Empires, that style of game. Then on a similar note, we have Guns of the Old West. Similar but very different in this campaign situation. 100 campaign paths as you go through these various playthroughs in this, combat system. You can have different boxes, different core boxes, giving you different maps and different factions facing off against each other. So you have Outlaws versus the Law core box over here. We also have the down here we have the Army versus the Comanche, the box 2 with, again, more maps, more characters, all of that as you try to figure out how you're going to be dealing with your factions, rolling dice, attacking each other. The actual core mechanics don't have a strong sense of them, but offering you lots of campaign paths as you go through this one. Guns of the Old West coming to you from Wolfstorm Entertainment. Then we have Dragon Eclipse coming from Awakened Realms. This is going to be... I'm realizing some of my campaigns are really out of order. I thought I had these ordered nicely, but either dates changed or something happened because those two got pushed off. I don't know. Dragon Eclipse. Dragon Eclipse is going to be coming to you from Awakened Realms. This is coming to you in 19 days, so before the last two that I just showed you. And Dragon Eclipse is bringing you a kind of Pokemon slash TCG kind of approach. I guess Pokemon is a TCG. A Pokemon style approach with roguelike elements with a solo and 2-player mode. This is giving you a lot of things. Now, everything here looks beautiful. I have not had a chance to play the game yet. It's coming to you from Awakened Realms, which obviously means it's going to be successful no matter what. We're looking at 40,000 people following the campaign, and things look beautiful, but with like question marks about, okay, what's the gameplay like? Where's all that? But we have miniatures, we have these packs, we have cards that I think the art, the production, all of that looks incredible. We have the various core pledges. We have $55 for the standard edition, $120 for the the deluxe edition with high quality miniatures, all that stuff. The boxes look great. We have a PvP mode add-on. We have a roguelike free add-on over here. Roguelike always has me intrigued. The idea of going through a continuous play and just figuring out where you end up. We have standees, we have mistlings, we have plastic trays, we have just the cards, we have this gigantic, incredible dragon over the top. This seems like it's going for like a Marvel United vibe of like simple, accessible, compelling gameplay, but like let's give you all the fun miniatures because why not? And honestly, I kind of fall into the camp of if I like the game, then I like the miniatures, and if I don't like the game, who really cares about that stuff anyway? We have Windraiser, we have Iceling, all these various, you know, little miniatures for the game that you're going to be getting in this, or well, depending what pledge you get. The art, the production looks great. I'm trying to scroll down. We have this aspect, booster packs. This is not a CCG, not a TCG, but they are giving you, in the special edition, you get them in these booster packs to give you that feeling, and they have these other kind of resealable booster packs that you can use to continue that feeling. So it's trying to give you a TCG feel, but it's not a TCG. Over here we have like showing you the foil treatment for like how these cards work and just like slight adjustments to tilting. Again, looks cool because every booster pack you open is going to have like 1 foil, 4 rares. What do we got? We got a legendary foil card, 4 rare cards, and 8 common cards. Core box contains all cards from Dragon Eclipse First Edition. So I'm very intrigued by this. I'm intrigued by the game. I have not played it yet though, and I just don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like. It's aiming for like a TCG feel without being a TCG. The last game that did that was... I'm blanking. There's a very famous game that went for like, hey, you're not actually playing a TCG, but you're simulating playing a TCG. I've always been intrigued by that game, never actually played it, but yeah. So I'm intrigued by Dragon Eclipse, I'm very intrigued. Art, production, gameplay sounds good, I just don't know if it'll actually be good. So that's going to be where we find it. Oh, look at these location books. Again, it's like, it's looking very, very solid. But I'm curious about the gameplay. That's the big deal. Roguelike. Go on a single run tactical combat focused crawl. Get a reward after every fight and keep going as long as you can. I don't love the as long as you can. I like it when a roguelike has a climax, an ending that you get to. So I'm curious in that. I think there's actually is a limit to it. If I recall reading somewhere else, there's a limit of how many missions there are. Not sure, but I do hope there is an ending in that roguelite, and you just have to try to get to the ending, and it's hard to get to the ending. That's what I hope. But either way, Dragon Eclipse, lots of things going on there. Very intrigued, and I'm eager to dive into it. I mean, I have it like right behind me over here, so I will be diving into it soon. I just don't know exactly how soon is soon. Then we have Firesiege from Midgard Games Studios. This one should be launching. Oh no. Firesiege, I think, was pushed off. Ignore this. Firesiege is not coming yet. Firesiege is not coming this month. Never mind. But Firesiege is one. While I'm here, I'll talk about it briefly. Firesiege was pushed off, if I recall correctly. I just forgot that when I listed up over here. But Firesiege is going to be giving you a cooperative board game where you have to hold your cards towards you, but every card has a good side and a bad side. You see one side of the cards, and your teammates see the other side of the cards. But you can't perfectly communicate. You only communicate on things like, it's not the best card to play, but you're like, but the good side's really good for me. You're like, the bad side's going to hurt us bad. Don't do it. And so there's a degree of communication in the game, and a degree of being able to kind of predict around, not predict, but to work with your teammates as you figure out how to cooperatively take down your enemies. Firesiege is very intriguing. Had a chance to play this one. Definitely enjoyed it, but I need to play it more to see where it settles for me. The core thing that keeps it different and unique is those double-sided card situation, which is things we've seen in other games where that kind of hidden and revealed information aspect. So definitely intrigued by Firesiege, not more than intrigued. I've played it, I've enjoyed it. The gameplay itself is just, you know, solid, cooperative, nothing amazing, nothing bad, but they have some elements that make it different or worth paying attention to. But I guess we'll talk about that more in a few months because I'm pretty sure this one got pushed off. It was going to be September and it got pushed off. Then we have Sirens, Defrag, and 16 Candies. A tiny game series is coming to you from Envy Board Games. Sirens is going to be a 1 to 2 player drafting game as you try to build out the perfect musical accompaniment. We have Defrag, which is going to be a tactical grid maneuvering thing where you move tokens or move cards around a grid, trying to score them as efficiently as possible. And then we have 16 Candies, which is a game about collecting candies and trying to outpace your opponents before they realize that you or they have actually won the game. Three small box games. From the 3, I've played all 3. I like Sirens a lot. Defrag and 16 Candies I was more okay with. Defrag in particular is very interesting. I think Defrag, I can see people liking Defrag a lot, and 16 Candies is a little bit lighter than my personal taste. That's going to be these 3 games coming on Kickstarter in September, I think. We have more Terraforming Mars launching very shortly. There's going to be Terraforming Mars. Is it launching shortly? Or is it launching at the end of the month? Now I don't remember. More Terraforming Mars is coming to you from Stronghold Games and bringing you Terraforming Mars, and Autonoma, and a Prelude 2. So basically just more Terraforming Mars. Do I want Prelude 2? Of course I do. Do I want the Autonoma? I don't know. I think I'd rather play Terraforming Mars with players. I played it a lot solo, so I'm curious that Autonoma is just going to mimic another player. I don't love Autonomas, but I'm intrigued. But Prelude 2 is why I'm here. More Terraforming Mars is not always a good thing, but can be a good thing. We have Kavango. There's going to be a 1 to 5 player game of, I believe, drafting cards as you work and build out your nature reserve. I'm light on information on this one, so not a ton more to go into. We have Hoplomachus Pandora's Box expansion and base game reprints from Chip Theory Games. This is going to be bringing you more Hoplomachus, as well as, in theory, trying to attempt to navigate. We talked earlier about how Isofarian Guard has a grind, a degree of grind to it, and that's been, like, people love the game, but don't always love the grind. That's true for Hopmockus as well. A consistent complaint here as well has also been that Hopmockus is so fun, but then there's a little repetitiveness to the game, a little bit too much grind to the game. The bosses, the Scions you're fighting against, they don't actually impact the game nearly enough. So you have this Scion that totally changes the final boss fight, but then the rest of the entire experience that you're playing, they're kind of like, oh, by the way, I have this one ship I add to the bag, and look at that, you can even get rid of it. So they don't really have an effect on the world that you're dancing through. So Hopmockus is a game that I loved when I first played it. I want to see what they're doing with this one, because I really like the system. If they can address the grind and have the Scions influence the entire world around you, that would make my day. But as it is right now, Hopmockus is a really great game that I'd rather play other chip theory games. I refuse to get rid of it though so far. I think it's up here. I think that's the box. I refuse to get rid of it until I actually try the expansions though, because I know they're aware of the feedback and are looking to address them. Again, the gameplay itself is really well done, just a little too repetitiveness, and I want to see that Scion influence things more. And then we have Aberration from Ghostfire Gaming. This one should also be launching in September. It says it on the page. I believe it's mid-September actually. But Aberration from Ghostfire Gaming is a cooperative tower defense board game of horror and survival. Actually, it's a little similar to Firesiege in terms of the overall theming, but all being very different from the mechanics and gameplay. I've had a chance to play this one. I've enjoyed it so far based on a single play. But you're gonna have all these miniatures. You're gonna have, that's not why I enjoy it, although it doesn't hurt. You have all these miniatures over here, but ultimately you're trying to defend the village. Let me see if it doesn't show the board over here. It's designed by Peter Lee, who's designer of Lords of Waterdeep, and you're trying to defend the village. You're going to be trying to build out the what are they called again? These various places. You're trying to like flip all these locations on the board. You're trying to beget hope before the fear overrides you, and you're trying to ensure you build out your character, utilize your abilities, level up across the course of the game, while being mindful of the bag building. It's going to be a bag building mechanic where you're trying to build out your bag, and those are going to define the actions you take. Overall, lots of promise from the first game I played, but I do need to play it more before I have more of an opinion on this one. That's going to be Aberration from Ghostfire Gaming, and then lastly, we have Fall of Lumen from Toy Games. This one I actually saw the cover of this, I was like, that looks familiar, and then I read it's like from the same people who did Legends of the Void, and I was like, that's why it looks familiar. It looks very similar to Legends of Void, which, fun fact, Legends of Void, the reviews on that one seem fascinating. There's a mix of people who are like, this game is amazing and it's better than Terraforming Mars, and there's people who are like, oh, it's too long, it's too fiddly. There's a mix. Like, I really want to play it because I like Terraforming Mars a lot, and I like anything that, anyone that tells me anything is like Terraforming Mars, I kind of want to try it, assuming it's halfway decently rated. And this is, well, Legends of Void is more than halfway decently rated. I'm losing track over here. We're talking about Fall of Lumen, a deck building and area movement game from in the same universe, although very different system, coming from Toy Games. And that is everything we have, which means regular reminder to go ahead and subscribe to Shelf Clutter if you are interested in, you know, finding out the updates as I go through it. As far as my picks of the month over here, I don't know if I have a special format for my picks of the month in my upcoming crowdfunding campaigns, but in terms of campaigns I'm interested in, there's a lot. There's Rogue Angels, somewhere over here. Rogue Angels, definitely interested in that one. There's Isofarian Guard, Cretaceous Rails, I can't find all the links over here. Cretaceous Rails, Isofarian Guard, Creature Caravan, Beast, Dragon Eclipse, very intrigued by wherever that one is over here somewhere. Dragon Eclipse, Firesiege, although Firesiege is not really now. Aberration, what else? Terraforming Mars, Victorum. There's a bunch of campaigns that I'm very excited about. If I had to pick, let's say, 3 to stand out, I'd probably pick Dragon Eclipse, Cretaceous Rails, and maybe Isofarian Guard. I don't know. I think so. Let's go with that. Let's go Dragon Eclipse, Cretaceous Rails, and Isofarian Guard. Although there's more I'm interested in. There's a lot of very good campaigns that I'm very intrigued by. That I'm intrigued by. I'm intrigued. Some of them I've played. Cretaceous Rails I've played. I really enjoyed. Aberration I've played. Really enjoyed. Dragon Eclipse have not played. Looking forward to. Isofarian Guard played, and I'm looking forward to both that and Victorum. I'm looking forward to what they do to address things. So we'll see. But either way, that is going to be everything. That is your month in September. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.